Hello everyone, today we're going to be looking at Petrosian versus Spassky of 1969 because this game offers a beautiful lesson of how to attack successfully in chess. And specifically, we're going to be looking at how can you bring more resources into your attack. So let's get into the game, and I will go through the game very quickly because I want to get to that critical moment where you can really see the idea of getting more pieces into the attack in action. And so Petrosian with the white pieces, you can see him shuffling his knights around here, trying to find the best squares for them. And ultimately we get to this position right around here where black played bishop to e7. And I'm actually going to pose this position as a puzzle. So take a moment with the white pieces here, pause the video, try to find the best move for white here, and when you're ready, return to the video. And so let's go over some of the ideas that you might have thought of. Well, first of all, saving the rook doesn't work. So notice the rook is attacked. It can't move here because of the pawn. And if you go to a5, then queen to d2 will simply fork the rook and the king, and you're going to end up winning the rook anyways. And so if you can't save the rook, you have to think much more aggressively. How can you attack? And I think a lot of people, at least for me, the first instinctive move was knight takes g6, using the pin and just totally wrecking black's pawn structure. However, here, after black takes the rook on c5 and you take the rook on f8, black can take back with their bishop, saving their bishop from danger on c5, and the resulting position is definitely not crushing for white. I mean, maybe you can claim you have a small edge, but it's nothing significant. This is definitely quite easy to draw here. And so for that reason, knight to g6 does not really work. Rook to a5 doesn't really work. And maybe you can calculate some other attacking ideas, but ultimately you might notice that a lot of the direct attacking ideas don't work. And the reason for that is that you don't have enough pieces in the attack. A knight and a queen sometimes are a great duo that can attack, but in a position like this where black is so safe here, that's not going to cut it. And so you need to get more resources into the attack. And it might seem like an impossible task because, well, this rook obviously can't really do much, and the rook here also can't really do much. But you really have to question that belief, because if we look at this rook here, right now it's not doing anything, but why can't we just go rook to b1 and maybe enter through the 8th rank? Especially, this idea becomes especially nice when considering the fact that f7 is very tender here for black, and so they need to keep this pawn very safe. And if we crash through, maybe you can see where I'm going, the rook can't really take, because then f7 again will become very weak. And so rook to b1 is actually the engine's only good move, and Petrosian found it here. And now after bishop takes on c5, rook takes on b8, it's game over. Spassky actually resigned here, but we'll definitely go ahead and look at some of the potential moves. First of all, if black plays a random move like bishop takes d4, then queen takes f7, followed by knight to g6 is mate. And, I mean, of course, if black moves their bishop elsewhere, same thing happens. Queen to f7 and knight g6 is checkmate. And so that really leaves only a couple of options for black. If they move their king somewhere like king here, you can simply take, and after bishop takes, you infiltrate with your queen with check. And if they move instead to h7, same thing. Takes, and the queen comes in with check, it's going to be game over. And that leaves one last chance for black. The move king to h8. And this seems really strange, but the idea is this. After rook takes, bishop takes, if you take with the queen, it's no longer check. And that is a very important fact, because now black has the opportunity to actually draw the game with this perpetual check. Your queen was doing a very vital job of stopping the queen from coming to e2. And so in the case of king to h8, you don't want to take, And maybe you'll calculate some other lines, for example, like knight to f7 followed by knight to g5. I mean, white's better here, but it still doesn't look that decisive because, again, the queen can't enter with check, because if the queen leaves from c4, it allows black to come in, and that will be a draw. And so it becomes very tricky. But the idea, the winning combination after king to h8 is knight takes immediately, because after the king moves, you go rook to b7, and the king can move to a number of squares, but regardless, you go rook to b7, eyeing down the rook, eyeing down the king, and you're threatening now practically unstoppable checkmate threats, because you have, again, another resource in the attack. Once again, we see this idea of, if we trade the rooks in this position, which is very tempting, somehow we don't have enough resources to attack here, especially because of this annoying perpetual check from black. So we need to save our resources when attacking, and by doing so, we give ourselves a chance to do even a more deadly attack. So a beautiful game, a very instructive game of how to take a totally useless piece for you, this rook on c1, and totally turn it upside down into basically the piece that is winning you the game. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.